Welcome to Blue Compass, where we're sharing SEO tips for beginners. Search engine optimization is a powerful way to get more qualified people to your website, but the problem is SEO can be really complex, really confusing, and sometimes it's just intimidating to do. So with me here today, I have Grace and Kevin, two members of our digital marketing team, and both of you have worked with us for years, have a lot of experience when it comes to SEO, and you're in the weeds doing this sort of thing every day. And so I want to start out, Kevin, by asking you just basic, what is SEO and why does it even matter? Why do we have to worry about SEO for our website?
Definitely. Yeah, so search engine optimization, or SEO, as we'll refer to it probably throughout this entire video, is essentially the process of improving your website's performance and authority in search results. So both of those are determined by a bunch of algorithm factors based on Google's algorithm. And basically performance, what it looks at is things like keywords, schema markup, internal linking, all of these things to basically tell Google my website is a valuable resource. And if you give it to a user as a resource, they will find the answers they're looking for. Also, when we're talking about authority, that's kind of taken into factors like how relevant is your content? Is it unique and original? Is it high quality? And again, basically just, are you valuable? If you're valuable, Google will recognize that and you'll have a better chance at ranking higher for search queries that are related to the services or products you offer or your industry as a whole. And those users who then use your website as a resource, they visit it, they read the page, they're more inclined to recognize that value, return, potentially become a customer. So yeah, there's a ton of value to SEO. At Blue Compass, we sort of treat it as the foundation of our digital marketing strategies. Oftentimes when we're meeting with a new client or prospect and we're auditing their website and their digital presence, the first thing we'll do is perform a SEO audit, because oftentimes that uncovers a lot of problems that will deter us from being able to move forward with anything else without getting those fixed first. So SEO is extremely important in that without it, it kind of hinders your other digital marketing strategies such as Google Ads or paid social media or whatever it might be. Reason being, those all have the ultimate goal of driving users back to your website. So without that SEO, you'll be bringing users to a website that isn't necessarily the best version of itself. So SEO will help you deliver just the best possible resource to those users who are looking for information or whatever it might be.
And SEO, like you mentioned, there's a lot of different factors that determine how well Google ranks your website. And I think that's where it gets intimidating and feels complex.
Yep.
But one of the things we found is that really the building blocks of SEO are keywords, the words you use on a page. So Grace, I wanted to ask you, tell us a little more about what are keywords and how do you find keywords and how do you put the right keywords into your website?
Yes, keywords are a very important part of any successful SEO strategy. They are the terms and phrases that people enter into search engines like Google to find information they're looking for, answers to their questions, and of course, products and services. When you optimize your headlines and your body copy on your webpage with those keywords, you're giving your webpage more of a chance to show up in search results, which is the ultimate goal. So how I would start by finding the right keywords for my website or my business is building a list of topics and brainstorming topics that are related to your business, your industry, and the products and services that you offer specifically. But keeping in mind how your audience is trying to find your products and services in Google. How are they showing up to Google and searching for your products and services? For example, catering services. Of course, you want to target a key term like that, but maybe go a layer above and a layer deeper. So food for parties, food for events, graduation catering, and wedding catering. So just creating all the possible topics or terms that you might want to show up for in Google. And then an internal best practice that we use is we actually then go to Google and type in those keywords to see the search results that are showing up. How would our page show up with the intent of the other search results? Intent is very important. So let's say you do target food for parties, but you're noticing when you type that into Google that it's very blog or recipe based, but you want to find more service, like you yourself and your business want to show up in more service based results.
Right.
Then maybe we'd cross that one off the list. And then, yeah, there's a few tools that we use internally. The digital marketing team uses to find keywords and assess the volume and competition. Those are Google's Keyword Planner and SE Ranking. And then if you want to figure out the trends or seasonality regarding a keyword, we use Google Trends.
Yeah. Google Trends, personally, I use that one quite a bit. And Google Trends is a free tool that anyone can use. And, excuse me, it's really simple to use. And you can compare different terms. And so again, if you're doing catering, you could search for different variations of catering and see, okay, which one shows up the most in my area because I'm targeting this metro area. And therefore you know which terms you should put into your web page copy more, which is really handy.
Yeah, I like that you can look at the time frame too of the trends and change. And if your keyword is trending and now, then yes, maybe optimize your content for that.
Yeah, and if I might add, Grace mentioned a very valuable piece of information there, which is you're trying to think of how the users are searching for your company or products or services. A lot of times industries have very technical terms, and when they're performing keyword research, it's very easy to think about how you talk about your industry internally with your employees and people who have a better understanding of it. So trying to kind of think outside the box, how are my customers or prospects going to be searching for these things? They might be a little simpler and things like that. And also, again, like just checking on it periodically, keeping up with the trends. We're seeing a lot of changes now with AI-based search, AI generative search experience on Google. There's a lot of longer tail keywords because people are using their voice to search things. So rather than just a few words put together, they're full sentences or full questions. So that's going to also impact how your page performs if you don't adapt to that. So just checking in periodically too on how your keywords are performing. Are you still ranking for the same keywords, or are those trends going a different direction?
And the volume. But yeah, I think if somebody was to take one piece of advice from this video regarding keywords is the industry jargon. How you talk about your products or services might not be how somebody is searching for them.
Absolutely. One example of this I can think of is we worked with a transportation company and they would use terms like transportation specialist. That's what they called it. But usually people just call them drivers. And so if you don't use the term drivers, people aren't going to find that. So you have to talk like your customer, even if your customer isn't using the proper terms. Important to do.
Absolutely.
Kevin, when it comes to content, talk a little bit about, how often should you put new content on a website? How often should you refresh it? How long should that content be?
Yeah, so when we're talking about the length of your content, Google's recommendation is 300 words minimum requirement. That's great, but at Blue Compass over the years, we found the best outcomes from that 600 word mark and up. So our rule of thumb is kind of like 600 to 1,000 word minimums based on the type of page you're optimizing or writing as new. So that's going to depend. For example, if you have a blog or article system on your website, those pieces tend to be a little more informational. They're longer. You might be telling a story in it. You're going to be providing a lot more details. So that's where we would recommend that longer character count. Basically, it ensures that you're an informational resource. So when a user visits that page, they're going to find everything they're looking for on that page. Your goal is to drive engagement. So keep that user on that page. So just having a little bit more unique quality content is going to help you more in that sense. If we switch gears to like a service page, that's a little more action oriented. Your goal is to try and have a user either click on a button or fill out a form or drive some type of lead to your business. So in that case, you want to provide enough content to be valuable to, again, make sure the user is able to find what they're looking for without having to leave that page. But the end goal is to essentially have them take that action. So you don't want it to be so long as to where they're overwhelmed and it encourages them to leave your site. So it's kind of a touch and feel thing based on your website, based on your industry and how your website is structured. So definitely take that into account. There's really no timetable on how often you should be updating your content. Again, it's kind of what type of page is it? So for a blog, again, it's more of an informational piece. So to ensure that information remains relevant, it might require some more frequent updates, maybe once every 6 months, once every year. It's important to just continue to monitor the performance and, again, the trends that are happening within your industry. But for like a contact page or a page about your business, that information is a little more static. And so it probably doesn't require as many updates as others.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the best practice is update the copy as much as is necessary to provide the maximum value for your audience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well said.
I think the fine balance of SEO in general, and you made me think of this when you were talking, is that it's important to, of course, give Google or search engines what it needs to make sure that you're showing up for users, but the balance of users is not overwhelming them with content or overwhelming them with a bunch of words on a page, because they are most likely browsing the page to then either take action or just get the information that they're searching for. So it's, how are you breaking up the content with images too, or the call to action buttons, or again, just creating very action oriented headlines sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, Grace, I think one thing that a lot of organizations miss when it comes to their website are meta titles and meta descriptions. If you really want your web pages to rank well and to get clicks, you have to have great meta titles and meta descriptions. What are those? In
short, meta titles and descriptions are basically billboards for your web page in search results. They are not necessarily going to be shown on page, but they will be shown in search results. So a meta title is going to be that clickable headline. So everybody usually clicks and reads the headline first, and that's what gets people to click on your result. But we recommend keeping that between 40 and 60 characters long and optimizing with a keyword. And again, because that is most likely what somebody is going to read first and click on, you want to make that enticing. The meta description is just a very brief summary of what your web page is about. And again, it's important for the brief summary to give the search engine a good understanding of what your page is about. But again, that might be the leverage the user needs in search results to click your result. So again, keeping that between 70 and 120 characters long. If your meta titles and descriptions are duplicated, or they're missing, or they're not following the recommended character counts, you're doing your page a disservice and running the risk of not showing up in search results, and also making it more challenging for Google to not understand or understand what your page is about.
Yeah, and sometimes if you don't write them yourselves, which you can typically do this in your content management system, whether it's WordPress or Slate, whatever that might be, but if you do not write meta titles and meta descriptions, if you leave that blank for a page, often Google will rewrite them. Google will write them itself. Sometimes it does a good job, oftentimes it doesn't. It's nice to have control yourself over that.
Yes, as the experts, we like to control what we can anytime we get the chance to. So that's a very good added tip there. And just to kind of go off of that, and also kind of what Grace was talking about, duplicate content, duplicate meta information. Always make your meta title similar to the title of your page, but also different. We don't want it to mislead any users of what the page is about.
Clickbait, nothing like that.
Exactly, but also it's just a second opportunity to get those valuable keywords in there in a different way. So definitely keep that in mind when you're writing meta information.
Yeah. Okay, Kevin, tell me, what are the biggest SEO mistakes that you typically see if you're surfing around the web and on a web page?
Yeah, so a few things that came to mind when you asked this question right off the bat is oversized images. Oversized images is the number one cause for slow loading websites and poor user experiences.
And by that, you don't mean the dimensions, you mean the actual like file size,
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Kilobytes, megabytes. Our recommendation is to typically 150 kilobytes or lower. There is a balance to it, but a file that's too large essentially is going to slow down the load speed of your page. And again, a user doesn't want to see that when they're, looking for information or looking for a service. They're trying to kind of, be quick and on top of it. And it's also important to keep in mind when you are determining the final file size for your image that you want it to be small enough so that it doesn't impact the load speed of your page, but you also don't want to lose the quality of that image. Sometimes when we're compressing images for this purpose, they're so big to begin with that it's really hard to get them to that 150 kilobyte recommendation without.
There's a fine line.
So again, keep that in mind when you are uploading images to your website. Another common mistake we see is lack of links. Links can be extremely valuable when it comes to SEO, especially when communicating to Google your website's structure.
Yeah, those internal links, especially. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. So, I mean, we've been talking a lot about individual pages, but SEO is for your whole website. You can tell the whole story by your website's structure. So, including internal links on your web pages leading to other web pages on your site just helps Google have a better understanding of that structure and also tells them that, you're an expert in your industry. You have all these valuable web pages to offer. And then external links, on the other hand, are a great way to prove to Google that even if this content might be coming from somewhere else, you are using a very valuable resource to do it, and you're citing that information. And also, you can create a partnership with that external resource, and maybe they end up linking back to your website, which again helps with your overall authority and just trustworthiness and expertise. So internal linking, external linking, those are both very valuable as well. And then one last thing that came to mind was poorly structured heading tags or no headings at all.
Like H1s, heading ones, H2s, H3s.
Exactly, So those tags are, again, valuable to both Google and the user. We've been kind of harping on that harmonious balance that we have to achieve somehow. But those heading tags, again, help Google bots who are crawling your web page understand what the content is about. They can quickly crawl through those headings and understand what the content underneath those headings is about just based off of them. So that speeds up that crawling process as well. And then for a user, I mean, what's more valuable, coming to a web page that just has a bunch of content that's disorganized, you have to read through it all, try to kind of find exactly what you're looking for, or one that's broken out into headings to help guide you through the page as you're reading it. So heading tags, very important.
Having those well-organized headings throughout, start with one H1 at the top or heading 1, that's a little title, and then your H2s, and if you need them H3s, it makes the whole page more scannable for humans, but also for search bots. It's really handy.
And including a question, because most likely people are going to Google to get a question answered.
Yeah, absolutely. Structuring those in the form of a question or with the sentiment of a question. It doesn't necessarily have to have a question mark.
The how-tos.
Love it. Grace, Kevin, thank you for your expertise. I really appreciate it. And if we can help you with your website, with your search engine optimization, we have a full team who does this each and every day. We'd love to have a chat with you and help you get your website to rank better and bring in more qualified visitors. Thanks. We'll talk to you next time.